These are 5 stocks I'm looking to potentially buy if there is further downside in the markets that we are yet to see. And before we get into that, we'll go into a quick performance update for year to date of 2025, which is going to be minus 7% year to date versus minus 3% for the S&P 500. Hasn't been the start to the year that I was hoping for, but there's going to be plenty of opportunity once we finally get past this other side of the war here. And newsletter subscriber update, we're currently at 130 out of the 1,000 goals. So if you want to be added to the newsletter where you get all of my personal thoughts about markets and what I'm personally doing, stock ideas, things of that nature, click the first link in the description below to be added to that. But getting right into it here, today we've finally seen some discussion, and it looks to be closer to the finish line for the end of this Iran conflict. As of about 6 p.m. Eastern time, Iran has actually come back with a proposal. Trump was threatening the bombing of all of the Iran infrastructure if Iran did not come and come back with a 10-point agreement. So here's their 10-point agreement about their negotiations, what they're demanding, and they're asking for a lot. But like Amit here says in this tweet, that the fact that they're actually discussing at this point, and it's not just, hey, Trump is saying we're negotiating, but Iran's coming out 2 hours later saying, no, we haven't actually talked. This is a step in the right direction, but there's still more that needs to happen in terms of recovery on the indexes for me to feel okay entering a new position, right? So you look at the daily chart here on SPY, and today it got a close above the 21-day EMA, which was very nice to see, but it did touch that 200-day and get rejected. And basically that 200-day, that red line is what I'm watching for in terms of, okay, I'll feel a little bit better about potentially entering position, because as long as there's selling pressure on this 200-day, there could be further downside, right? It just takes, one failed negotiation here in the next 24, 48 hours, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lower low, even past the 629 low that was a few days ago. That is not out of the question for me at all, but hopefully we do see some progress in the negotiation here in the next day or so before we start entering. So with that being said, getting into the first stock I'm kind of looking at to potentially buy is, the first one is going to be Meta. So Meta, obviously social media conglomerate. They've been spending a lot on AI and capital investment and those nature. And I was watching it a few days ago on that 629 low of a SPY, and it kind of touched this 520 level. I would have loved to maybe enter a little bit here. But it's another one of those things, right? There's not any technical support down here. It's finally finding some technical support on the 9-day, but I would love for it to kind of base out here a little bit as this Iran conflict, settles essentially, hopefully. And, I would love to see it base out here, and the bottom of the range, maybe there could be a potential support, finding support somewhere in the bottom of the range. It's just too cheap right now for me to really ignore. I mean, just a year ago, not even, it was trading at 796, and the business is, I know they had the lawsuit that was a potential blimp on the radar, but everybody in marketing is still buying ads and media buying through Meta. It's the number one platform. And so that's going to be number one stock right there. Number 2 is MITK. This is a position I already have, but it's a small cap company that is increasingly building out a business segment in identity verification. So specifically for AI, right? So in the age of AI, there's going to be a lot of fraud, and we're going to have these identity solutions to make sure people are who they say they are. And I think that's going to be a growing theme. It's someone an investor I follow, and I'm in his community, who has opened a position there. I decided to follow him into it. But I'm down a little bit on the position, but it's finding support here at the 50-day, and it's starting to almost peak above all of the moving averages. So it's had great relative strength in the last month or so of the Iran conflict, and this will be another one that I encourage you to go look into yourself. It's a small cap, a $619 million market cap, and I think it has a lot of upside to ride this wave of AI fraud and identity solutions, right, as a form of cybersecurity. So number 3 is going to be Amazon. Amazon's not going anywhere. Obviously, as a Mag 7 stock, it just has really underperformed relative to all the other Mag 7s. But it's another one that the business is just not going away anytime soon. They're going to stand to benefit from AI in the long run when you have the humanoid robots increasingly working in the warehouses. But it's found a lot of support here at $200 a share, and it's still trading, obviously, like almost every stock on the market, below its moving averages, but it's finding support on the 9 and 21 here. And this could be another potential area if we see some further downside in the markets that I would love to open a small position here at $200 a share. Okay, so that's going to be stock number 3. And then we'll go to number 4 and number 5. So number 4 is Robinhood. And Robinhood has seen a fall from grace, right? One's trading at about $150 a share. And, it's disappointing to see that because they are such a good fintech play because they are a financial ecosystem play. It's why I like them more than something like Webull. Even though I use Webull as a brokerage, they just don't have the upside in terms of building out this full ecosystem of financial products. And so it's been tough to see them lose all that traction they gained last year. But if you go look at the chart here, let's see. Robinhood, $69 a share. They're really closely following retail trading volumes and things like Bitcoin and crypto prices. That's the downside to a stock like this, is because a lot of their revenue and stuff is tied to trading volume. So when you see these conflicts and these macro, kind of dulls where they discourage retail investors to start trading, Robinhood is not going to be able to withstand that kind of macro headwind rather on their business. So if you're a Robinhood investor, that's something you've really got to keep in mind. That's why I have kind of been waiting a little bit to get in cheaper. I would have loved to get in it at $62 a share, and it just was open at 63 was the lowest. So that's another name I am watching right now. And finally, the last one is ITRI, and they are smart grid and utility infrastructure company focused on advanced metering systems. So this is a play on the big theme in grid and how AI is driving this theme of the grid. And just take a look at the chart. It's a really ugly chart. It was honestly not a great chart even before the Iran conflict. You look at even in February, had the huge run up to the 100-day, got super rejected there on earnings, fell, and then it's just kind of struggled to find any sort of momentum since then. But it's a super cheap company, $4 billion market cap, but in terms of price to sales, EPS, PE, all seem pretty cheap, and it's a great way to play the long-term grid theme. So those are the 5 stocks. Let me know what you think about them in the comments, and leave a question in the comments or a note, and I'm going to be answering any comments I get on every single episode. So leave those in there, and I'll address those, and see you in the next video.